Good morning. Today is Monday, October 5th, 2020. I'm going to be doing another Gong Fu session, but I have some extra pieces of kit this time. I've gotten some new accessories, and also I wanted to kind of go over the my entire setup. I realized I've kind of in my previous videos I've kind of just started from a point where I've had everything kind of measured out and ready to go ahead of time. So what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be making some, this is Happy Lucky's Tea House's China Jasmine Pearls. So it's a jasmine infused rolled oolong. So I'm going to be very much enjoying that. It's going to be, it's nice, fragrant, just kind of very green, kind of if you like the more floral smelling oolongs, this is like the one to get in my opinion, because I mean it's my initial thought is to compare it to the kind of tea you would get at a Chinese restaurant, but the stuff they serve, it tends to be a lot cheaper. It's usually not it's usually like infused with a jasmine oil or something like that, instead of these, I believe, are actually I think they're steamed over like jasmine petals. Like they use the actual jasmine flower to infuse the smell of the jasmine into the tea itself. But this is wonderful. Okay, so I'm going to show off some of these pearls too, because I have a little bit of a demonstration to get into here. So first, this is what I do. This is usually a step I don't show on camera. I'm going to be weighing my tea. So first, I just have this little this was like a $10 scale from Amazon. Nothing too fancy. It just weighs in grams. So I'm going to be tearing the scale to the weight of my little bamboo slide here. I'm going to measure out. Let's see here. I'm going for roughly 8 grams. Looks like I hit it right on there, but 8.05, so that's acceptable. So we have 8 grams of tea here. I tend to use, for my Gong Fu sessions, I tend to use 7 to 8 grams of tea, and that probably seems like a lot, because it is, but it also, my philosophy about this whole thing is that if you're going to go through all of this and really take the steps to enjoy your tea, it behooves you to use a significant amount of it. You're going to get a better cup of tea. You're going to get a better, just a better session in general, and really your tea is going to go a lot further, because if you're using less tea and you're having more cups of worse tea, that to me is not any better than just having like a few cups of very good tea. And the more leaf you use with your tea, the more just it's gonna enrich the flavor. It's going to enrich the aroma. It's going to make it just better in general. And really, when you're using more leaf like this, you can afford to have shorter brew sessions, and thus you get more cups of tea. So really, I think if you're concerned about cost, the options really are use it cheaper tea and use more of it. Or you can spend a little more on your tea and use more of the tea and just get a more satisfying, a more kind of deliberate experience out of your sessions. And again, if you're going Gong Fu, I think that's the way to do it. So we're going to go ahead and start with the rinse here. Typically for these kind of rolled oolongs like this, you can see how tight the pearls are. They're almost like solid. There's not a lot of give to them. That's how you know it's good, basically. It's not the only indicator for quality, but typically a better tea will be more tightly wrapped. If you pour water on it and it just immediately unfurls, usually that's a bad sign. This tea, I've only actually had this one a couple times, and it usually takes 2 or 3 pours of water for it to really open up. So there's some debate about the length of time that a rinse should be. By default, I just go for 10 seconds. So I've got this water. It's cooled off a little bit, but it is about 88 degrees Celsius. So that's about where I want it to be. I like to go a little bit cooler for my oolongs. So 10 seconds by default is usually my rinse time. The purpose of the rinse, depending on who you ask, is to infuse the leaves with water to get them to the point where they're going to. That's what begins the opening process. But to me, the really important step is this one, where you just leave the lid on after you've poured the rinse out. This allows the leaves it retains the heat inside of the gaiwan, and they start to gradually open up. So I tend to leave it in there with the lid for, almost as long as possible. I really want those leaves to start to unfurl. The reason why is that when I pour my next batch of water on it, I want to make sure that the leaves have as much exposed surface area as possible, that there's as much of that plant matter is coming in direct contact with the water and not in contact with the other side of the leaf that's rolled on top of it. That's where the flavor comes from, of course. That's where the aroma comes from. That's what's going to infuse into the water. So if it's all just packed in there where it can't get out, it's not gonna infuse into the tea, and then you're gonna have to, your first couple of cups are gonna be of lower quality, of weaker taste, which we don't want. Typically, it takes, for rolled oolongs of a certain quality that I've had, it takes 1 or 2 sessions for it to, or 1 or 2 pours for it to really get to the point where it has opened up completely. So it's been about a minute underneath of here. So I will take the lid, and the jasmine smell has completely permeated the lid, and it's wonderful and springy. And there's a beautiful gigantic jasmine bush that grows right outside of my window, and I had my face stuck in that thing all spring. It has dropped all of its flowers, of course, as it is now fall, and I miss it, but this is bringing me back to it. Just very wonderful smelling flower. So you can see the pearls have not opened up too much yet. The rinse has loosened them. They've changed color a little bit. They've kind of browned, which is what we want. They should, within the next, probably 2 brews from now or so, they will unfurl completely and basically fill the gaiwan nearly to the top. So what we're going to do now is do our brew. I'm going to give this good 10 seconds of steep time. Get my Guangdao Bay ready. That's been about 10 seconds. We will pour off. And while I'm here, if you've never used a gaiwan before, I can explain the physics of the gaiwan a little bit, perhaps. Basically what you're doing is you want to grip. Any good gaiwan should have a pretty decent sized lip on it and be pretty grippable. You grip around the edges with both your thumb and your third finger, and or your middle finger, I guess you could do, but I use my third finger. The lid, your index finger will go into the lid like this, and what you're going to do is actually pull the lid back just a bit. This is your aperture, is what I've heard the term used to describe this opening. And the size of your aperture is going to vary with the kind of tea that you're using. If it is a rolled oolong like this, where they're fairly large leaves, you can use a much larger aperture like this. I don't know how much that shows up on the camera, but you can see I was able to pour out pretty quickly. This is a very nice gaiwan, I must say. So it pours very evenly into the Guangdao Bay. If I were doing something like a pu'er or something that might have a lot more broken leaves, I might use a much smaller aperture just to keep more of those leaves in the gaiwan itself, rather than pouring into my filter. As you can see, absolutely nothing except for some tiny little bits came out into the filter for this because this is a very tight, uniform tea. Most teas are not like that. So when you go to pour, you basically are just, you have your aperture open, you just dump. Pretty straightforward. It looks a lot more complicated than it is, but I promise it is very, once you kind of get what you're doing, it is not difficult at all. So again, I'm going to leave the lid on here to just sort of let those steam a bit. We can take a look at our tea. As you can see, it is a nice pale green yellow. Take a whiff of it here too. Yeah, the jasmine has come out. It is not at full capacity yet. It will, on the second brew is typically where I've had the best real flowery floral jasmine scent. But it's a very nice color. It's very just it's almost like moonlight. It's just beautiful. Quite like this tea. So, like I said earlier, I have a new piece of kit. Something I've only used once. I just got it the other day. I'm slowly building a teaware set out of this glaze from this manufacturer. This is I don't know the name of the man who makes these, but he's got his signature on the bottom here if anybody recognizes this symbol. I ordered these from TaiwanTeaCrafts.com. It got here very, very quickly. I actually ordered this cup and this aroma cup, which I'm going to be showing off here. I ordered these last week, and they got here within like 2 days from Taiwan. So that was cool. The shipping is a little bit much right now, but I bought enough that I was able to get free shipping on the free expedited shipping on the order, which worked out well for me. Anyway, so this is something that evidently this is something that is kind of exclusive to Taiwanese Gongfu Brewing specifically, is this aroma cup. And what this does is it acts as an aroma channeler, effectively, in which case you will take your tea and you fill this up about 3/4 of the way. It is evidently considered rude to fill it up entirely, to fully fill the cup, as it implies to your guest that you are trying to get rid of them and you will not be serving them tea going forward. Like you're just trying to get them full of tea so they leave. So you fill this about 3/4 of the way full. You take your cup that you will be drinking out of and you put it over top of the aroma cup. And I have to offer praise to this artisan who made these, because this cup fits so perfectly in here. It's like solid, basically. So then you take underneath, probably can't see what I'm doing, but I'm kind of grabbing the aroma cup and I'm going to flip it over. Creates kind of a vacuum. The liquid is not poured out entirely. I will then lift the aroma cup, pouring the tea into the drinking cup. I will take the aroma cup, I'll stick my nose in it, and I will sniff it, and it will smell absolutely wonderful. I'll be honest with you. I don't know how much this really adds to the experience, but if you really, a lot of the appeal of tea to me is the full sensory experience of drinking tea, and this does enhance that, as far as getting just a really concentrated blast of the scent, especially with like a really nice mild floral tea like this. It really does. It does make for a nice extra step. And a big thing about tea too is the especially Gongfu Brewing, is just the deliberateness of the whole practice. It's very relaxing. It gives you something to just do. You know, something you can, like, I wake up in the morning and I just do this. This is just sort of part of my ritual now, and it gives you some stability, you know, in your morning routine. So much of the flavor has faded from this now, but here we have our tea. The only downside of the aroma cup is you kind of don't get a lot of tea into your cup. This is really something for if you're treating guests. I think this is kind of really a more necessary piece of kit, as far as like giving them a full the full experience, if you really want to show off your tea, that's really what this is for. But I still think it's kind of fun, so I'm gonna take a drink here and. Yeah, it's very, very green, very nice, very, very mild. This is a good dinner tea. This is a good early morning tea. It's not harsh. It's not over caffeinated. If you really want to just sit and just enjoy the sensory experience, this is a good tea for that. It's quite nice. And we'll take a look at the leaves here too in just a moment. So. It's a good tea for, actually, I would say it's a good tea for going into spring because of the floralness, but as it is fall, it's quite nice for that too. Like it's been very, very smoky here the last few days, and it seems to be, I'm hoping, finally clearing out, or perhaps even, I know the fires are still raging up in the mountains, but it's this is one of the few sunny days we've had in like a month and a half, and it's very calming, especially in light of having this tea this morning. Yeah. So now that these have had time to steam, you can see they have really begun to open up, especially these ones on top. Naturally the ones that are most exposed to the air are the ones that are going to really open up. But if I'm going to probably brew this 2 or 3 more times, and by the time I'm finished with it, these will be basically this cup will be full. I'm getting more of the vegetal undertones of the tea, like the tea itself is giving way to the jasmine, or rather the jasmine is giving way to the tea smell. So I'm getting a more complex flavor out of these leaves now. You can see how much they've opened up. So my water is cooled a little bit. We're down to 77 degrees. It's still warm enough to get a decent brew. I'm gonna get a little, as the temperature goes down, I'll be getting a little less astringency, although this tea is not very astringent to begin with. I'll probably get more of the milder notes out of it, especially now that it's opened up. So that's been about 10 seconds. Again, pour. And try and get as much of the water out as possible. I've seen some advanced Gaiwan techniques where, in order to get all of the water out, I've seen people do this move where you take it back the other way, put your knuckle in like that, and pour overhand like this, which for the purposes of demonstration I can do it. I don't really see the purpose of it. As far as like, it's just to get all the water, all that residual water out. You kind of just go sending it back the other way. I mean, it works, but I don't know how necessary it is. It looks cool. All right, so again, we have it's a little cloudier this time. We're getting more of the tea juice out of it, I think, here. The floral scent is still here, very strong. We can do one more. We'll do one more of the aroma cup pours while it's still hot. So I filled my cup. Oh, I probably ought to finish drinking what's in here. This is one of the downsides of these very clear pale teas. In these dark cups, I can't see how much is left in here. All right, there we go. Damn near poured it all over my table. Flip it over. Lift the cup. Yeah, it's like I said, I spent all spring just sticking my face in this bush outside my window, and it's just like that. It's just wonderful. The tea the tea flavor, the flavor of the tea itself, and less so the floral infusion is coming through a lot more now. A lot milder. As far as it's very very smooth at this temperature. I quite like it. Have to have some more of that. Go. And yes, I am slurping it on purpose. That's the thing with tea is you you want to aerate the tea as you take it in. I know slurping is kind of I think it's sort of a cultural thing, whether it's considered rude or annoying or not. All the master tea drinkers that I have known have all been big time loud, aggressive slurpers. So I've tried to emulate them a little bit. It does. I feel like it makes a difference. It sort of it mixes the tea up in your mouth. It sort of spreads it out among your palate. You can get more of the flavor. You can get more of the subtle notes. It changes the profile a little bit. It's very difficult to describe in words exactly what it is, as opposed to merely drinking it. I think when you just drink it like a regular, like water or whatever, your tongue kind of curls and it just sort of channels it back into down your throat. It doesn't spread around your mouth and hit all of your taste buds, all of your nerve endings, I suppose. There is sort of a, I hate the word mouth feel, but there is a mouth feel component to tea, of course, that is lost if you merely swallow it. So maybe be more judicious in public if you're slurping, but if you're like me and you're here by yourself, or you're nobody's around, or you're among friends who know the deal, slurp away. So yeah, as in conclusion, highly recommend this tea. This is very good, especially if you want something more mild, something you can enjoy at night. Oolongs tend to be lower caffeine than other types of tea, especially black teas and green teas. So it's something you can have before bed and not really worry too much about it, as long as you haven't been chugging caffeine all day. It's very very relaxing with the scent, very very mild. It's not gonna wind you up. Yeah, I really enjoy it. Aroma Cup review. It's cool. I like the concept. I like the theatrics of it. I think that's the big thing for me, is just the flipping the thing over is kind of fun. The smelling it is fun. It just sort of preps you for what you're about to drink. I think that's cool. I don't know if it's something I will do every time I do a Gong Fu session, but for the purposes of being on camera, I think that's pretty fun. So yeah, but I would also like to shout out TaiwanTeaCrafts.com, because they make good stuff. It's pricey, but I will never buy another tea set. I'll tell you that. So long as this doesn't shatter if I stop greasing my fingers with butter and dropping all my things, then I will not have to worry about ever buying another Gaiwan or any cups or anything, because this thing is beautiful and I love it. So I don't know, check them out. Check out Happy Lucky's Tea House. They're at happyluckies.com, Lucyks. They're in Fort Collins here. That's their phone number if you want to call them. They are my favorite place in the world. They have been suffering due to COVID, as everyone has. They were, for many years, I have been a regular customer there. I go in there, at least during non-plague times, I would go in there and have a matcha or whatever, have them brew me up something. That's where I learned to do all of this. This is where I learned about what Gong Fu style even is, or what quality tea is. It's all from them. They're very knowledgeable. They're very good at. They're very good about customer service. They will ship anywhere in the continental United States. As far as I know, I don't know if that has changed. I've never. I live local, so I've never had to actually buy from them. Or I never had to buy online from them, rather, but I know in the past they have shipped anywhere. So if you live in the United States and you want to get some good tea, I would recommend them highly. They get specialty things in pretty often, so check them out. Check them out frequently. They get a lot of good green teas. That's where I got my green tea addiction from, was them. Some good pu'ers. You know, they're a small company. They're just located here in the city, so I would appreciate it greatly if you ordered something from them. I know they would too. They've been a boon to me as far as my tea life has been concerned. So, thank you for watching. If you have any questions, let me know. I will try to answer them. Thank you.